Father Angelo, why are priests in the Greek Orthodox faith permitted to get married, but priests in other denominations aren't allowed to?
Another good question. And actually, in the Protestant church, almost all of them are married. So it's only right now in the Catholic faith. And in fact, even if we extend out to the other faiths, like Islam or the Hebrew faith, we see that they are allowed to be married also. So really, this idea of the celibate priest is only present in the Orthodox Church and in the Catholic Church. Now, in the Orthodox Church, celibacy is at the discretion of the individual. If they decide that they don't want to be married, then we call them a celibate priest. In the Catholic Church, there is not that option. If you're going to become a priest, then you are going to be unmarried. You're going to be a celibate priest. Now, all the way back from the time of the apostle, we know that many of the apostles, to include Peter, were married. We hear about his mother-in-law. Certainly the Catholic Church holds Peter in high regard. So there was never any idea originally that priests would not be married. In fact, St. Paul also talks about that the elder or the priest, they didn't use that term, but the priest should be good in his finances and should show a good family life. So it was even encouraged that he be married. But we had some issues later on that developed in the West that weren't necessarily present in the East. And what I'm talking about there is that oftentimes, both for the priest and for the bishop in the Catholic West, when the priest died, his inheritance would end up going to his children. And that was for the bishop and for the priest. And so in that case, many times the land that the church was on would then be taken over by the family, and then the church would lose that land. So at that point, the Pope of the time instituted the idea of the mandated celibacy of the priesthood. But that was all artificial and all man-made and can be corrected. And in fact, that's a discussion that Pope Francis and our ecumenical patriarch Bartholomew are actually talking about right now. I think that's one of the things that will come. So it's really not strange for us as Orthodox to be married, because this has always been the tradition of the church. Now, we do have the restriction, though, that if you want to be a priest or you want to be a deacon in the church, you need to be married before your ordination. And we do follow the Catholic Church in the role of bishop. Bishops must be celibate. And some people say, well, there are bishops in the Protestant churches that are married. I think it's more a thing of matter of logistics. And what I mean by that is that it's very difficult for a bishop to have a solid family life and to watch over all of his priests. And I'm just speaking for our bishop myself, because I know that he has 56 parishes spread across half of this country. He spends all the time on the road, not to mention the time that he goes to Constantinople. If you're going to have a family and you're traveling that much, it's very unfair to the wife and very unfair to the kids if you're not present there in their lives.
With that being said, don't you find it imperative for a priest to have life experience, such as marriage, to counsel members of their parish in regards to marriage counseling or helping members of the parish create life experience of their own?
Actually, you bring up a really good point, because if truth be told, I'm actually from the Alpha Centauri Nebula, so I've come here to actually study this race. And so I've learned a lot of life experience about what you people on this planet do. Your language is a little bit confusing to me, but I've been able over the years to kind of learn how to speak and some of the strange customs that you as humans have. So actually, that's something very, very near and dear to me, is that growing up, I did not necessarily have a connection with my priest. He wasn't from my country. He wasn't from America. He didn't have the same practices that I did. He was older. I just never really felt that I could connect with him. And the other thing was that he was a lifelong priest. And again, not to say that there's anything wrong with being a lifelong priest, but his experience is limited to what he knows as a priest. When I went to seminary, the people that I went through seminary with, all of us were a bit older. We were in our late 40s. One was a lawyer, one was a financial advisor. I myself went as a program manager and engineer for an automotive company. So from my perspective, having served in the military, having run my own business, having worked for a large corporation, I've been able to answer a lot of questions. I've had a mother that's come to me and said, my son is thinking about joining the military. What do you think about that? I can speak with experience about what are the positives and what are the negatives. I had another gentleman come to me and he says, you know what, I'd like to open up my own business. What are those challenges? And I can speak to that. Obviously, I do marriage and premarital counseling, and they'll ask me certain questions or I can point certain things out to them. So for me personally, I've seen a great benefit to be able to talk to those people right where they are and answer with experience what their questions are, as opposed to book knowledge that says, well, here is what a good marriage looks like, or here is what a military career looks like, because there's a lot of stuff that unfortunately is not written down in the books. So for me, it's been very, very helpful, I think, to have that background and experience. And again, not to condemn those who are celibate priests or those priests that have come in at a very young age, but there is a certain respect that comes with somebody who already has gone through and has had life experience and is then able to pass that on. It's kind of like the alcoholic talking to the other alcoholic. You know where I've been, you know what I've done, you know what my feelings and my experiences are. So for me, I think that experience is a very, very good aspect of my priesthood.